Welcome back. President Obama expected to hold a one-on-one meeting with the Prime Minister of Iraq. This after the Iraqi leader criticized the United States coalition for not doing enough to defeat ISIS. It also happens as we get word that Iraqi forces backed by Shiite militias just recaptured key parts of a northern refinery town from the terrorism group. The troops reportedly still advancing in the area that fell to ISIS a year ago. Joining me right now is retired Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin. He is former Delta Force commander and executive vice president of the Family Research Council. General, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maria. Good to be with you.
Let's first talk about the upcoming G7 meeting in Germany. The president is going to be meeting one-on-one with the Iraq prime minister. What are you expecting out of that meeting?
Well, what I'm expecting is more rhetoric that will come out of the meeting. I think that it's laughable that the prime minister would criticize America for not doing enough, but I think that what we're going to wind up doing is more of the same, which is providing more weapons and equipment to an army that has a history of throwing them down, fleeing, and turning them over to ISIS.
Well, I mean, that's the issue. So what are we supposed to do after we've seen time and time again we're sending equipment, sending, support, and ISIS is actually rolling over the Iraqi forces?
Well, ask yourself, who are the real fighters? Other than ISIS, who are the real fighters in that region? The answer is it's the Kurds. The Kurds, the Peshmerga, have a long history of being willing to take on these forces down in the Baghdad region, these forces that are surrogates for Iran. They have a long history of being willing to fight. We've seen that. We saw that, for the last year. So the people that we should be arming and equipping are the Kurds, and we shouldn't do it through Baghdad. We should do it into Erbil. Fly airplanes into Erbil, offload weapons and materiel, and let the Kurds become the ground force that everybody keeps talking about.
Well, I think both, everyone agrees that is one of the answers. How come it's not happening?
Well, because this government in Baghdad is corrupt, and because everything that the United States sends to the Kurds goes into Baghdad for distribution to the Kurds, but it never gets to the Kurds. We haven't provided the Kurds with anything, and it's time that we bypass Baghdad, bypass this surrogate government for Iran, and we start supplying the Kurds directly. These people will fight, and they can make a difference in this fight against ISIS.
I see. Meanwhile, you've got Iraqi officials saying that ISIS fighters have cut off water to the towns, loyalist towns in and around Ramadi. They've taken down Ramadi, obviously. Right. The Pentagon has confirmed that 10,000 ISIS fighters have been killed in battle, but they're still on the, controlling and sort of dominating the region.
Look, we did this body count assessment in Vietnam. It doesn't work. When you kill 10,000 and you recruit 20,000 in the same period of time, it seems like the odds are not in your favor. What we need to understand is that with our Special Operations Forces and our air power, particularly our Air Force air power, if we turned our Special Operations Forces loose and let them accompany the Kurdish fighters, the Peshmerga, to direct airstrikes, to call airstrikes, to use laser target designators to designate specific targets, we could have a huge impact not just on killing ISIS, which I believe is a good thing, but also in destroying their command centers, destroying some of their key nodes, which is all part of being able to defeat them ultimately.
Meanwhile, how does Iran fit into all of this, sir? Because we are continuing these talks with Iran over a nuclear agreement, and the deadline is at the end of the month, June 30th, which, of course, very few people believe will actually yield anything. And the president of Iran, Rouhani, is vowing to back Syria's pro-Assad forces. He says, quote, until the end of the road.
Yeah, if you were sitting in Baghdad and you were let's say a fighter for the Iraqi army, and you saw what the United States was doing with Iran, you saw that the United States was foolishly acting like we were going to come up with some kind of serious treaty with Iran, would you be willing to go out and fight ISIS knowing that the United States is not going to do anything to help you? The United States is all sold out to Iran. This is, Maria, this is foolishness. Everybody knows this is foolishness, and the only strategy that I see by this administration is to send Josh Earnest out to try and convince America that no matter what's going on the ground, no matter what's going on behind closed doors in this treaty, Josh Earnest is supposed to convince us that everything is good and we're going to come out of this in very good shape. That's not true.
Well, that's I guess there's a perception out there. I think that you are articulating. So good to have you on the program. Thanks so much, General.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
We'll see you soon.